Welcome to Live the Call. This month, we're thrilled to welcome our special guest, Jacqueline Kane, a master energy healer and low back pain specialist with over 20 years of experience. Jacqueline's unique blend of wisdom and compassion is evident in her work as a seasoned therapist and life coach. Today, we'll delve into the intricacies of the inner child, whoa, and its profound influence on health, wealth, relationships, and every facet of our lives. Get ready for practical strategies and insights into nurturing your inner child for positive transformation. Jacqueline, we're looking forward to this enlightening conversation. You and I already started talking, and we're already diving into the depths of the inner child. I'm really looking forward to speaking about this with you today. So, welcome. So happy that you're here. So good to
Thank you,
see you.
Pamela. I'm very excited to be with you today.
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that and we're going to explore some breakthroughs and hopefully be able to inform, right, our members and anyone who's watching on YouTube and who's interested in understanding the energy of, what you do and the energy of the inner child and the work that we do to
Mm.
help heal that inner child. And there'll be some, steps that there's going to be breakthroughs that they'll understand. There's probably going to be takeaways, right, Jackie, that they can, work on themselves to try and help
Oh,
and heal themselves. But I want to go back and, Live the Call is an inspirational call. We always say, right, and you and I experience this, we feel ourselves hearing it. We're hearing a pull to listen to our spirit. We're feeling a pull to live with our spirit first. And then
mm.
once we listen to that, we start to honor it. We start to understand what that is, and that evolves. I mean, that never stops evolving. But then when you're living the call, you're actually putting action to it, and you are, doing your soul's work, and you are either helping people or you're supporting, your soul's work and your passion for what it is that you want to bring to the world. So think that would be really important for others to understand. I mean, just a little bit of what that looked like for you of hearing, listening, and living.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I've always believed that there was a way to live naturally. I was always involved in self-care. When I was a young person going to a bookstore, I just gravitated to the self-care department of the books. I just wanted to understand myself better. There was an inner part of me that wanted to do everything naturally. And I didn't understand it. It was just something
Mm,
that was part of me.
yeah.
Um, and then I just, I didn't know what to do after high school. I had no idea. My family was a bit dysfunctional. There wasn't a lot of support. My
Yeah.
aunt was an x-ray tech, and I'm like, yeah, let me just go check that out. So I ended up becoming an x-ray tech, learned a lot about the body, had my first massage on a cruise ship, and thought,
Wow.
what just happened? Because my whole mind got quiet. And I
Mm,
didn't realize, like, now I understand. Back then, I was the person who lived in my head. Even when I went on vacation, I would just make a long list of everything I wanted to do instead of enjoying it and being
yes.
on vacation.
Mm.
I had that list. Had to get it everything done. um, but after that massage, it all stopped and it just got me curious. Well, what was this thing? Um, and I knew at some point I really wanted to become a massage therapist. So
Mm,
that time happened when my kids were young and I was married, became a massage therapist, started learning all these amazing modalities. But then I became too involved in my work
mm,
and my marriage was starting to fall apart.
mm.
We kind of went our separate ways. Um, we distanced ourselves and we had to come to Jesus moment and say, are we staying together or is this the end?
Yeah.
Um, but it was my awakening. It was like, I'm going to really figure this out because I was doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. And I hear that from a lot of people. I was meditating with a guru. I was taking care of my family. I was supporting everybody,
Mm,
but I lost myself. And so what I discovered was there was a lot of trauma that I had suppressed and a lot of trauma at a very early age that in my healing process was uncovered, which
mm.
shocked me to my core. Um,
Right.
the ability that our minds do to protect ourselves was how could I not remember that? How
Mhm.
did it ever happen that here I
Yeah.
am in my 50s and I'm just realizing the level that I was abused?
Mhm. Wow.
It's
Yeah.
life-changing,
Yeah.
right?
I'd imagine that it was how can you're taking care of yourself and you're honoring and listening and trying to figure out who you are and healing and uncovering and dealing with it and then to take care of your family and to be able to serve your husband and that's so much all at the same time. So
It was
to
a
be able to,
lot.
it sounds excruciating. I went through part of that myself too, but to be able to give each other the space, it's kind of amazing also if you look back at that in retrospect, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a gift. It really
Mm-hmm.
was a gift because I really did. I took a break from my work. I just pulled it back and I said, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to focus on me
Mm.
to figure this out once and for all because I didn't want to go through it. I don't want to drag it out anymore. Um, and wow, it was a gift. So my husband and I are still together. We just
Yay.
became grandparents. We are enjoying life so much more. And the most important thing is that I learned to be me. I learned to now put myself first, discover what I want instead of putting everybody else's needs before me. Um, and there's just a more of an authenticity and a power that comes with that.
That's true.
And I love being able to help women do that for themselves. We don't have to suffer anymore. There's a
Yes.
whole other way to live your life. And when more women step into their power, we're going to change the planet. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
heal the families and then heal the planet. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. So when you uncovered all of that about your childhood and you were able to, focus on yourself and your healing and understand what you needed in your marriage, how did you start working with women? How did that start evolving?
I think I had always been working with women um, because the clients who show up, they're me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm.
And that's the really
Yeah.
cool thing with women coaches, right? We
Yeah.
attract people who experience what we've experienced because
Mm-hmm.
we know them. And if you're listening, if you're unhappy in a marriage, if you're people pleasing, because that's what we were taught to do. Women were taught, I know when I was raised, to not be selfish, to put everybody else's emotions
Yes.
and concerns ahead of our own. And then, of course, when you get married, well, what does he like to eat? What does he like to do? Make sure that you look
Yes.
nice when he comes home. Don't,
Right.
tiptoe around dad and don't
Mm-hmm.
make him upset.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, like
Yeah.
the realization that when did that ever start? When did
Mm-hmm.
why were we taught to just give over and
Mm-hmm.
over and over again
Mm-hmm.
and give to the point of depletion of
Yes.
an empty bucket, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't work for anybody. And then we're the ones raising children and we're then making them feel like, and we love our children, right? Like I would do anything for my children and now my grandchildren. But to put their needs first, that's not healthy.
Yes.
Um, so the minute I started understanding who I am, like first we have to understand who we are. When I started my journey and people would say, well, what do you want to do? Because now I was choosing to create a whole different relationship, which meant I have to speak up. I have to say, this is what I'd really like,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just saying, what would you like? I had to get clear. Well, who am I? What do I like to do? I never asked myself that question. So there were so many journeys along the way of self-discovery and then fear, because when
Mm-hmm.
you've lived your life of not speaking up, not saying, hey, I want this. The journey to then speak up, it doesn't happen overnight, right? You have to take baby
No.
steps.
Yes. And you
And
have to
every
do it.
situation is something to celebrate. Every time you say, that's not okay with me, that you did this and that impacted me this way, is a celebration for
Yeah.
us, for our spirit. But to get to that point, it's a journey because it's completely foreign,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. And I always say, and having experienced this myself, that you kind of get demonized for it. You're told you may not be living up to the expectations of the other women in your life that had to submit or be less
Mm,
than or live
yeah.
in a relationship with their mother in a certain way, and that's what they're expecting from you. And when you
Mm,
say, I'm not doing that, I want better than that, or I want more than that, or I'm
yeah.
not accepting that, it's you receive a lot of backlash from the people that are around you. And the more that you step into that space we were just discussing, the more empowered, the more you
Mhm.
see how it empowers you, it depletes others, and you continue, not in a bad way, but it's taking the energy back away from them. It
Yes.
continues to help you elevate into that space of owning it 100%
Yeah.
and living it, because it's very difficult. And you're breaking boundaries that for your next generation, you're changing things for the future of
Yeah.
your children, and what they'll live up to expecting and receiving. And it's fascinating, right? It
It
really
is.
is.
It really is. And when you start setting boundaries and saying what you want, you give other people permission to do the same thing.
That's
So
true.
you're changing the people around you. There's a beautiful ripple effect that happens kind of organically. It just the more every person steps into their power, you then give a few other people permission.
Mm,
And then it just grows from that.
it's
It just
awesome.
grows. Yeah.
Yeah, it's building that empowerment. So these ways of being, these you know things that we were trained as children, or experiences that we have as children, it's energetic. It comes down through our DNA,
Mhm.
it comes down through stories, it comes down through our birth, it comes down through generations. That is our inner child. That's the
Mhm.
work that
Yeah.
you're working with people to try to heal, right? Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about that? That's interesting.
Yeah. So everything, the first like 4 to 6 years of a child's life are so important. Um, they're learning how to be around you. They're learning that, ooh, I do this if I cry too much and nobody comes to protect me or feed me or do something for me. If that pattern keeps happening, then that child is going to create beliefs that no matter what I do, I'm not supported.
Mm-hmm.
This world is harsh and I don't get my needs met. But if you're a very attentive parent and every time that child moans or groans, you're just nurturing and compassionate, then that child learns that, oh, this place is safe. I can say something, I can cry, and somebody's going to take care of me. That's how
Mm,
I get my needs met. And there's always going to be support. There's always going to be somebody to take care of me. So it's so important as a parent. What are we teaching our kids? What are we doing and saying and not saying that are impacting our child's lives?
mm.
Because they can't speak, but they are watching everything that we do.
And they're
And they
feeling
are
it.
so in tune empathically to they feel us, right? Because we came from our mother. So energetically, we're all the same. We inherit. I also do a lot of ancestral work and generational work. All of those emotions are now passed down to me. So all that anxiety, if my mother's very anxious and worries a lot, I'm going to sense that. I'm going to start thinking, ooh, this place isn't safe. I'm not going to understand why, but I'm going to pick up and sense in my that little body that there's something wrong. And if we keep that emotion, if we keep that child in that energetic emotion of anxiety, our nervous system is going to be on fire. It's going to be guarded 24/7.
Mhm.
So then that little child is going to continue to create beliefs that it's not safe. There's always something to worry about. There's always anxiety in my life. That child actually creates more things to be anxious about, more things to worry about. And it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that the child's entire life will be filled with anxiety and worry and disappointment and never achieving their goals because of that energy in that nervous system, that heightened awareness.
Yeah. I have my youngest came into the world like that. And I wasn't awakened then and I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
And now seeing her at 18, I see it and I want to help her and I don't know how. And so when someone, and you're never too old to work on your inner child. You can always work on
never.
your inner child. Yeah, you and I worked
Yeah,
on my inner child, and that was an amazing, profound experience. Things came up that I never even like haven't thought about in a really long time.
yeah,
And that's it's basically going back to what you said about you had no idea that you had all these feelings and experiences
yeah.
suppressed, and you must see that all the time with your clients. Yeah.
Yeah, because we basically, I'm just creating a safe environment, a safe space for my clients to get in touch with the energy of what's coming up. Um, and you just have no idea what memory is going to pop up and say it's time to heal this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old, your 11-year-old, there's when we're 50, 40, 50, 60 years old, we've had many experiences, right? Many
Yes.
different beliefs that can come up. Um, but that inner child is either having fun and evolving and bringing more opportunities to us, or if sometimes I call the inner child the defiant inner child, right? The one who's like, nope, we're not doing this today. I know you really want a successful business, but we're not going to do it today because I don't feel safe being seen. And you're talking about doing podcasts, you're talking about going on TV, and that scares me.
We don't want to do that.
We don't do that. We don't speak up. Remember, we came from a family where that was not safe.
We don't do that.
Who do you think you are, like being
Right.
out there, right? Yeah, so that inner child can be really strong. So he or
Mhm.
she is either making it easy for us and creating more opportunity, or they can really shut things down. So if
Mhm.
you're used to, say, for example, you have a business and you're trying really hard to make ends meet and to grow, and it's not working, one part of this could be that there's a part of you that's
Mhm.
really scared to be seen. And it's okay. Now it's time to just tune into that part of you. And the first question you always ask is, okay, how old is that part of
Ooh,
me? Right?
yeah.
How old is that part of me that is really scared to take the next step of growth, the next step of impact, the next step of what's possible?
Mhm.
Um, and when you start, you just keep asking more questions. What happened? What was the event? And a lot of times I have clients like write a letter to that inner child and say, I promise you it's not going to happen ever again. Because now that inner child needs to trust me that I'm going to take care of her, that
Ooh.
I'm going to protect her.
Wow,
That's
Jackie.
right. Like
Yeah.
that's the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, the one you have with all these different wounded inner children inside of us
Mhm.
that are screaming for attention. That's why now that I have a grandchild, I'm like, oh my God, we got to like do it
What are we doing? Yeah. We need to have a meeting so we can
all
all be
different.
on the same page.
And they're
Oh,
like, back off. We
yeah.
got it. I'm like, but do you?
You just want the best for them. You love them. I mean,
Ah,
even my mother says that, your relationship with your grandchild is different than your relationship with your child. It's a whole different dynamic. And we all have, no matter what you say, you could have had a wonderful childhood. There's something that you experienced somewhere that affected your inner child. It could have been in school. It could have been with a teacher. It could have been with a classmate. It could have been with anything, that
yeah.
affected you in some sort of way that you don't maybe hadn't realized. Or when I was going through my ayahuasca journey, an experience with my father came up, and
Mm,
something that affected me when I was a little girl that I kind of like knew in the back of my mind. It was not terrible, but it was I guess it was my very first wah 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 moment, which I've had many of those in my life. And suddenly this clarity, this understanding of the situation, this understanding of generations before him, generations with my children. I did all of this multi-generational work. And that one moment was clearly defined, and it was like understanding happened. And it was, whoa, just about one tiny little second, really
yeah.
seriously, a couple
Yes.
seconds of something that happened in my life many, many years ago. And I don't know exactly how that affected me, and all of the experiences in healing have affected me to be able to do what I'm doing today spiritually. But it could affect people with their health. It could affect with their wealth, their relationships, how they show up with their family members, with their in every aspect of their life. Right? If they
Yeah.
choose to be able to heal their inner child, that's amazing. Yeah, it's profound.
Yeah. Because, and it does, it can happen so fast. Something that the other person really had no impact, that's their response that somebody took on. And it was
Mm-hmm.
so traumatic. And there's small T's and big T's, right? But
Mm.
for some reason, that one really created a big event for you, and it becomes an energetic piece inside of us. It's like
Yes.
you may have even like shut down and was like, oh, I'm not sharing anything about me anymore. Nope,
No.
you embarrassed me and I'm shutting it all down. Yeah.
Yeah, never spoke of it. And I found out through a shamanic journey in a past life that it related to that moment. I was like, oh
Mhm.
my God. And then followed by the ayahuasca. So, you know, the inner child, I see it in my mother all the time. And I see it in my mother. So I think like when you can see it in other people, you can kind of see their pains
Yeah.
sometimes too. And you just want to help. I guess you can, when you're working with people, and they don't see it yet about themselves, and you have to help them pull it out and see it and then work with is it always like something that people are able to accept, or does it take a really long time? Can you kind of dive into your work a little bit for
It
people, somebody
really
who's
depends.
hearing about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because for some people, it's like, oh, I see it. And, I'm going to turn that around. And then for other people, it's like they don't want to see it
Mm,
because it was so painful. And I found that the earlier in life that you experience trauma or abuse, the harder it is to shift.
mm,
So the earlier age that whatever happened, um, if sometimes if you're like the third or fourth kid and you're crying and mom's too busy and a lot of chaos, you're not getting your needs met. Nobody's coming, no matter how loud you cry, you're not getting fed.
mm.
Sometimes when you're still in that crib, you're creating beliefs that there's no support.
Wow.
I have to do it all my own. Think of the really strong women in your life. They
Hmm.
do everything. And it's so hard for them to receive any kind of help and support or even ask, because for a child not to be helped, a child would never ask a question, knowing that the answer is no.
Right. Right.
That is too painful. Like that goes right to my heart. Like
Mm,
a 3-year-old asking for help and support in a 3-year-old way, knowing that the answer is no.
mm-hmm.
We're going to immediately shut it all down.
Yeah. It's like a hardening happens.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
heart attack at a very young
Yeah.
age, right? We're just shutting down all that energy. Nope, I don't want anything. I don't need anything. These are the people who don't ask. They're completely fine with the minimal amount of love and support, and you can see it, and you're like, I'm here to help you. I really
Yeah.
want to help you. But
Yeah.
it's this energetic block. They've learned not to trust people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that those are really the ones who need a lot of healing, right?
Yeah.
And it's constant accountability to constantly gently open them up to start to trust themselves and create a much better relationship with themselves
What
so
about
that the
someone
outer
who
world can respond to that.
can respond? What about someone who is masking that pain with substances? So, what if somebody, you know, most people who are using drugs or alcohol or anything else for that matter, they're trying to kind of hide it in a different way without maybe putting the hard shell on, or they're
Mm-hmm.
burying it, of course. But what do you say to, say, like a man who's approaching midlife, who's an alcoholic and not dealing with his abuse when he was a young boy? How can he start? Where does someone start, Jackie, when they have a multi, like there's so many complexities
So
in
many
that
layers to it.
situation? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always start everybody with an ancestral clearing. Um, because we've inherited, usually alcoholics, they were raised by alcoholics, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a pattern, right, that's been passed down. And whether you're talking about drugs or alcohol or even food or
Mm-hmm.
shopping, whatever the addiction is, they're trying to feel something, right? And that's usually a pattern that either both parents had or one had that we now inherited. So the first thing I love to start people with is doing an ancestral clearing. And then they start seeing, oh, it's not just me. It wasn't all my fault.
Right.
I didn't have the love and support.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
they can be open to then healing that inner child who was raised in a very maybe chaotic environment,
Mm-hmm.
maybe abandonment issues, all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things, and understanding that they created beliefs about themselves at a very young age. And then it's
Innocent.
just opening up to
Yeah.
compassion and saying, hey, we did the best we could. My parents did the best we could. This is
Mm-hmm.
not about blaming anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's just seeing, okay, this is what I got. And remember, we all took on a body and we brought all our friends with us who love us unconditionally to
Right.
teach me that lesson.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to teach me a lesson if I'm living in a white picket fence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's somebody has to love me unconditionally beyond what I ever thought to abuse me in this lifetime, right?
So
So
much love. Yes, to come here and do this, play that character to create that
yeah,
contrast, and then the
I love you
understanding.
so much, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to treat you badly
Mm-hmm.
so that you can learn what it's like to be loved, so that you can learn how to love yourself unconditionally. Whatever your lesson is, that's my role in this lifetime. I promised you I would teach you that lesson.
Man.
When you see that bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an easy picture to watch,
Mm-hmm.
but when you think of it in that way, then you're like, oh, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
get it.
Yeah, I have empathy for all the players, including myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
Suddenly,
even
you
have a
understand.
situation now with a professional person, friend in my life, and I'm like, "Hmm, the relationship's just not where it was, and I see
Mhm.
it this way." And then even recently, I'm like, "She's teaching me.
Mhm.
You still
Yes.
just send her love, you send her love and compassion, and thank you for helping me to heal another layer."
Mhm. Helping me to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hope, and I know that all of these conversations are so important and they're timely, right? And
Mm,
um, I know that will help someone in the community, many, either in the community or on YouTube, people watching this who don't
mm,
understand. It's one, like we were saying earlier, it's one experience, it's one conversation,
yeah.
and it's one aha, one shift, one new perspective, one spark that gets ignited that can change everything.
Mhm.
So if you relate to anything that we just were talking about, there's something there for you. I truly feel it. And I want everyone to be able to heal their inner child because we suffer. We're we're 53 years on this planet right now. And I say we're, me and my soul in this lifetime, right? And it's the lessons, they don't stop. It's a continual process of
Yeah.
evolution, of expanding and understanding love. And one of those things is loving yourself, you
Mhm.
know. And the guides talked about that this week in the channel message was the love that you give and extend so freely to others, have and give to yourself.
Mhm.
Love yourself. And that love sometimes is stepping into uncomfortable spaces, listening to that little something inside that says, I am really resonating with what Jacqueline is saying. I think I really want to reach out or work with someone that I've already experienced or whatever the scenario is, and love myself and heal some of those things, right, Jackie?
Yeah, yeah, and Pamela, I mean, God bless you. You've created such a community where, oh my God, there's amazing practitioners, and the messages that you download for us and channel, it lets us know we're okay.
Yeah.
And when you hear the news or when you see what's happening in the world, we always come back to trust.
Mm,
Right? That there's a bigger picture, that I've got to stay on course. I've got to like trust my inner guidance.
mm-hmm.
It's not about trusting, it's not one way for everybody. It's what do you need? And everybody's awakening is different. And
Yeah.
you talk about that constantly, and people need to know that.
Yeah. People need to know that they have options. People need to know that the ways of the world are in front of us, but
Mhm.
you're like the captain of your ship, right? Is what they say. You are leading the production that is your life. So you are in charge and empowered of every decision you make, of everything that you do, every second of every day of your life.
Yeah.
And you have support. You have support with communities. You have support with healers and practitioners and people like you, Jackie. And you have the support of your individual guides and deceased loved ones,
Mhm.
and you have the support of the universe. All you have to
Mhm.
do is ask. All you have to do is ask. And that's another message that they said this week too. Sit and
Mhm.
ask your guides, ask your guides. So if you are feeling the holidays are hard, right, Jackie? The holidays are hard. A lot of families are the dynamics, the oh, I have to be with them, or everyone has a different situation. So the dynamics from your childhood might be excruciating and you don't want to deal with it. And they all come up to play when everybody's together. But you're in control of that. You can be a part of it or not. Right? You can do it or not. But I just implore everyone to kind of step into that unknown and try to, dive into some sort of energy work. And if inner child healing could be a way for someone to relate to a first attempt, then that would be perfect.
Yeah, and I think one other thing, people, it's so important for people to know that um we're manifesting all the time. It just depends on what are we manifesting and is it what we really want? But
Mm-hmm.
know that if you're manifesting kind of that downward spiral, you can absolutely, there are powerful tools once you learn them that can shift it and make it go in the other direction. in a second.
Absolutely. In a second.
Once you open up and you say, "Yes, I wanna invest, I wanna learn about myself, I wanna learn these tools." Once you say that, the universe will be like, "Oh, she's ready, here you go. It's all
Yeah, they're like,
yours."
"Woo!" They're on the other side, like, "Yes, you did it, or he did it, or they did it. I can't wait to see what they do next." It's true. It's absolutely true. And like, every reading I've ever gone to, throughout all of these years, they're like, whomever I've been in front of, they're like, your grandmother's here. She's so proud of you, of what you're doing and how you're living your life. Or your dad wishes he could have shown up that way, or whatever, or just for loving yourself, because that's what they want us to do, is
Yeah.
experience love and learn love, and experience love and learn love. So yeah, it's amazing, Jackie. I just love talking to you, and it's always a wonderful time to be with you. And um, I want to tell everyone that's in the spirit calling community who's watching this on the replay, Jackie is an aligned professional. She is in the spirit calling community. You can go to the aligned professionals page. You can contact Jackie directly. You can send her a message. You can talk with her. You can ask her questions. Um, she also has a new course that's a 60-minute course in the portal. It's called Release Your Inherited Limited Energy. And you can go and check that out. And then you can also find Jackie on her website at jacquelinemkane.com. And I'm going to put all of that in, in the call notes, so you don't have to scramble to write it down now. But I wanted to, is there anything else you'd like to tell people? Anything that you're launching, or anything that you'd like to promote, or just, I want you to have a space to talk about your work.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want people to know that there is hope. I
Mm,
think sometimes when we're in the middle of the downward spiral and it gets very hopeless, that there's a whole other way to live your life that is fun and exciting, and it's so easy and effortlessly to, oh my God, receive anything. And once the universe knows you're on board, it puts things in front of you without you even having to say, "Oh, I need that." It'll just show
yeah.
up magically,
Yes.
right? It's crazy how it happens.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and there's just a lot going on in my world. So I do have a book, The Energy Medicine Solution, with 24 other collaborators. We are planning to do another retreat, probably later in 2024. And there's just I love creating experiences for people. So definitely just keep in touch. Check out the programs and the things in Spirit Calling, and please share with us your success and what you
Yes.
discovered and the fun of really, really living a life and experiencing and being a part of your life.
Yeah. Well, you just did a perfect closer for Live the Call. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time today. And I really appreciate you. And
Mm.
for everyone who's watching, thank you for spending your time and learning. And we hope that you share with us on the portal. And we'll see you on the next Live the Call. To stay up to date on everything Spirit Calling, follow us on our social media platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can support us by going to spirit-calling.com and joining our membership community.